The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the next 3 weeks, August 18th to September 5th, state that Ridge Forrester will conceal a dreadful secret as the countdown to Thomas Forrester's return is on. Deacon Sharp may also feel Sheila Sharp is hiding something. So let's go over all the twists and turns. The week of August 18th to 22nd will frustrate Deacon. Sheila's unusual behavior may leave Deacon with questions and concerns, so he may suspect that his wife is hiding something. Of course, B&B fans are aware that Sheila has been hiding Luna Nozawa's survival since joining Lee Finnegan's secret circle. Unfortunately, Luna's fascination with Will Spencer will lead her to make some foolish decisions again. Luna will wear a wig and spectacles to mask her identity, so she can attend the forthcoming party at Il Giardino. By the time Lee discovers Luna is missing and calls Sheila, their grandchild may already be at the celebration. Luna will eventually put on a mask, which will allow her to hide who she truly is. Will most likely cheat on Electra Forrester due to a mistaken identification. Will may also be under the effect of drugs and alcohol, resulting in many layers of poor judgment that lead to his betraying Electra with the masked Luna. Ridge Forrester will keep a dreadful secret from Taylor Hayes. Taylor does not know the complete tale of Ridge getting carried up in that intense moment with Brooke Logan after saving her in Italy. That incident was a watershed moment for Ridge, who realized how much he wanted Brooke back, but abandoning Taylor is difficult. Ridge will disguise the fact that he is largely with Taylor out of obligation, as well as his desire for a Brooke reunion. Ridge's deception will continue during the week of August 25th to 29th, so he'll still be lying to Taylor as their wedding date approaches. Instead of being honest and liberating Taylor, Ridge will suppress his true feelings, exacerbating the situation when the truth is eventually revealed. Brooke will find it difficult to accept Ridge's genuine feelings for her while watching him choose Taylor, at least for the time being. Hope Logan and Carter Walton will focus on their own wedding arrangements in the upcoming episodes, but their future could be jeopardized for a variety of reasons. Daphne Rose's friendship with Hope could be a concern as well. There's also the question of Thomas's return, and whether his Hope fixation will flare. Whatever the case, Thomas's on-screen return is scheduled for early September, so we'll see if it takes place during the week of September 1st to 5th or shortly thereafter. The countdown is on for Thomas's homecoming, and what he plans to do when he returns to Los Angeles. Thomas will undoubtedly keep his loved ones updated on the latest developments in his life. Will Thomas be single following the Paris-Buckingham split? Could this give Thomas hope for regaining hope? Regardless, Thomas will preserve Taylor and Ridge's future together. When Thomas sees Brooke is pushing Ridge to waffle back in her favor, he will not be pleased. According to the bold and the beautiful spoilers, Ridge and Brooke will eventually reunite, but there will be more Taylor-related drama in the meanwhile. Ridge stood in his office, gazing out the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. His reflection in the glass revealed a man who had aged not only by years, but also through guilt. His hands, always calm as he drew drawings for the next fashion line, trembled slightly as he grabbed the edge of his desk. The secret was not only his, it was linked to Sheila Carter, a lady whose name sent shivers through the Forrester family. Sheila, with her crafty smile and a history of chaos, had emerged, bringing with her a storm Ridge couldn't escape. It started months ago in a state of weakness. Ridge has been attempting to balance the demands of owning Forrester Creations with his family's shattered dynamics. His marriage to Brooke Logan, while passionate, was tested by past wounds and new misunderstandings. After a furious argument, Ridge found himself in a dimly lit tavern on the outskirts of town, seeking peace and solitude. That's when Sheila emerged, like a ghost from the past he'd tried to forget. She was different this time, calmer, almost regretful as she said. Her words were sweet, her demeanor gentle, but Ridge should have known better. Sheila talked about redemption and wanting to make apologies for her sins. She claimed to have transformed and found peace after years of tormenting the Forresters and those they cared about. Ridge, shaken by his confrontation with Brooke, and yearning for someone to listen, let his guard down. They talked for hours, and in the cloud of booze and vulnerability, Ridge made a terrible mistake. A brief moment of intimacy, a failure in judgment, and a secret that Sheila now wielded like a guillotine. He hadn't seen her in weeks after that night, yet her presence lingered like a ghost. Then the messages began. Cryptic texts and unsigned notes slid under his office door, each a reminder of what he'd done. Sheila was not gone. She was watching, waiting, and planning. Ridge knew she wouldn't give up leverage, and this secret was her ultimate weapon. If Brooke found out, it would end their marriage. If his children, Steffi, Thomas, and Phoebe, discovered the truth, it would ruin their faith in him. And if the world found out, Forrester Creations' reputation would suffer as a result of the incident. Across town, Thomas Forrester was going through his own anguish. His life had been a succession of battles, with his own demons, his family's expectations, and the shadow of his father's legacy. Thomas had always been the difficult one, the son who loved too much, fought too hard, and fell too far. His fixation with Brooke's daughter, Hope Logan, had cost him dearly in the past, but he'd been working hard to repair and prove that he was more than his faults. However, something was off. He couldn't shake the suspicion that his father was concealing something. Thomas noted small changes in Ridge that became impossible to ignore over time. Ridge's eyes wandered uncomfortably during family dinners. He cringed at the mention of Sheila's name, and he stayed late in his office. Thomas wasn't one to pry, especially given his own history of crossing lines, but his instincts told him something was awry. He began to pay close attention to his father, piecing together parts of overheard discussions and enigmatic interactions. The more he noticed, the more he felt Sheila was involved. Sheila Carter was a name that had weight in the Forrester family, representing betrayal and peril. Thomas had grown up hearing about her machinations, including kidnappings, extortion, and attempted murder. She was a spirit who refused to be buried, and Thomas thought she was returned to cause havoc. He began probing gently at first, asking questions of old family acquaintances, reviewing security logs at Forrester Creations, and even chasing down whispers on the dark corners of the internet. What he discovered horrified him. Murmurs that Sheila had been seen in Los Angeles, circling the Forresters like vultures. Meanwhile, Deacon Sharp was dealing with his own misgivings. Deacon, who claimed to be a rehabilitated man, had clawed his way out of a life of crime and addiction to achieve something approximating stability. His turbulent and destructive relationship with Sheila had ended years ago, but her shadow remained over him. Deacon had heard through the grapevine that Sheila was returning, and the news made him nervous. He was more familiar with her routines, manipulations, and abilities to persuade even the most stubborn brains. When Deacon spotted Ridge at a charity dinner, looking disturbed and distracted, his intuition told him Sheila was at the core of it all. Deacon had no feelings for Ridge, but he did care about the people Sheila could harm: Brooke, Hope, and even Thomas, who had been through enough. He began asking about, relying on old contacts from his less savory days to monitor Sheila's travels. What he discovered was a network of deception that pointed to one terrifying possibility. Sheila was blackmailing Ridge. Deacon lacked evidence at the time, but he was familiar with Sheila's tactics. She thrived on secrets and exploiting weaknesses, and Ridge's actions screamed of a man caught in her trap. The days passed into weeks, and the tension in Los Angeles grew like a raging storm. Ridge attempted to keep his truth hidden, but it was eating him alive. He snapped at Brooke over petty matters, avoided Thomas's scrutinizing gaze, and jumped at each unexpected disturbance. He knew he had to confront Sheila to break her hold on him, but every attempt to locate her resulted in dead ends. She was a phantom, always one step ahead, and her laughter echoed in his nightmares. Thomas was closing in. He had discovered a burner phone in Ridge's office, stashed in a drawer and filled with messages from an unknown number. The texts were vague but ominous, with references to that night and what Brooke would think. Reading them made Thomas's heart sink. He didn't want to believe his father could betray Brooke, especially after everything they'd been through, but the evidence was piling. He confronted Ridge one evening, trapping him in the Forrester mansion's library. "Dad, what's happening?" Thomas's voice was firm, but his eyes were filled with fury and terror. "Do not lie to me. I know something is wrong, and it is about Sheila." Ridge's face paled, and his hands tightened into fists. "You have no idea what you are talking about, Thomas. Leave it alone." "I can't," Thomas murmured, moving closer. "Not when it rips you apart. Not when it would endanger Mom, Steffi, or the company. Tell me the truth, Father. What did Sheila do?" Ridge wanted to confess, to unburden himself, but the words stuck in his throat. The embarrassment was too tremendous, and the prospect of losing his family was too daunting. He looked away and muttered, "It's nothing. Just stay out of it." But Thomas refused to back down. He pursued Ridge, his voice increasing. "I am not a kid anymore. I've made my own mistakes and paid for them. But I will not let our family come apart because you are too stubborn to confront whatever it is. If Sheila is involved, we must stop her. Together." The confrontation ended in a deadlock, with Ridge storming off and Thomas staring at the walls, his thoughts racing. He realized he couldn't let it go. He sought out to Deacon, the only person who might understand Sheila's plan. The two men met at a darkly lit cafe, away from the prying eyes of the Forrester community. "She's got something on him," Deacon remarked, nursing a coffee. "I am not sure what it is, but I have seen that expression in Ridge's eyes before. It's the look of a man trapped." Thomas nodded, his jaw tightened. "I found a telephone. Someone texted me, it was probably her. They are threatening him, Deacon. It's bad." Deacon leaned forwards, his voice low. "Sheila does not play small. Whatever she has, it is large enough to intimidate Ridge into quiet. We need to find her before she makes another move." The quest for Sheila turned into a race against time. Thomas and Deacon labored in secrecy, pooling their efforts to find her. They pursued leads to abandoned warehouses, seedy motels, and even a cryptic tip about a safe place on the outskirts of town. Every step brought them closer, but it also increased the fear in their hearts. Sheila was more than simply a menace. She was a destructive force, and her ultimate goal was yet unknown. Back at the Forrester estate, Brooke could feel the growing gap between her and Ridge. She tried to grab him and bridge the gap, but he slipped away. One night, while they were lying in bed, she gently touched his arm. "Ridge, tell me what it is. We've gone through worse. We can confront this together." Ridge turned to face her, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I want to, Brooke. God, I want to. But I can't. Not yet." Her heart was broken by his comments, yet she did not press. She knew Ridge and how he bore his burdens alone until they were too big to carry. But she also knew Sheila's name had been mentioned far too much lately, and the notion of that woman around her family made her blood run cold. As the days passed, the noose tightened. Thomas and Deacon eventually tracked Sheila down to a dilapidated apartment in a deserted part of town. They burst in expecting a fight, but instead discovered an empty room littered with documents and a single photograph of Ridge, taken that night at the pub. The message was clear. Sheila was not finished. She was still out there, clutching Ridge's secret like a loaded weapon. The truth came tumbling down one rainy night, when Ridge couldn't handle the weight. He held a family conference, assembling Brooke, Thomas, Steffi, and Hope in the mansion's living room. His voice shook as he talked, the words pouring out like a dam breaching. He told them everything. The bar, the night with Sheila, and the blackmail. He didn't spare himself or try to excuse it. He stood before them, raw and damaged, awaiting their decision. Brooke's face crumbled as tears streamed down her cheeks. "How could you, Ridge? After everything, how could you bring her back into our lives?" Steffi's eyes burned with rage. "Sheila? Again? Dad, how could you possibly be so stupid?" Thomas said nothing, his quiet more powerful than words. He had guessed, but hearing it verified was like a dagger in the belly. Hope reached for his hand, her eyes filled with sadness. "I'm sorry," Ridge muttered, barely audible. "I will do everything it takes to put things right. But we need to stop her. She's not finished with us." The family was fractured but not broken. They banded together, not out of forgiveness but out of necessity. Sheila remained out there, and her quiet was more terrifying than her threats. Thomas and Deacon stepped up their efforts, while Brooke and Steffi attempted to safeguard Forrester Creations from the impact. Hope, ever the mediator, tried to keep everyone together, even though her heart wrenched for the sorrow Sheila had inflicted. The quest for Sheila culminated in a last confrontation in an abandoned warehouse near the docks. Thomas and Deacon discovered her there, surrounded by her trade tools, fake IDs, burner phones, and a secret ledger compiled over the years. Sheila did not run. She held her ground with that irritating smile. "Do you think you have one?" she teased. "Ridge's secret is only the beginning. I know things about each of you, things that would destroy you." Thomas stepped forwards, his voice steady. "It is over, Sheila. Whatever you have, we will confront it. You do not get to destroy us. Deacon, quieter but no less determined, continued. You've hurt enough people. This is over now. The confrontation was tight, but Sheila's confidence wavered. She had miscalculated the power of the family she had attempted to break apart. In the turmoil that ensued, Sheila slipped away, disappearing into the darkness like she always did. However, this time she left empty-handed. The photos, the texts, the proof of Ridge's error, they were all gone, destroyed in the brawl. The Forresters were left to collect the pieces. Ridge's confession had hurt them, but it also pushed them to face their own weaknesses. Brooke forgave him, not easy, but because she loved him too much to let go. Thomas found fresh strength, determined to be the man his family needed. Steffi used her rage to protect the firm, while Hope attempted to mend the wounds between them all. Deacon, always the outsider, walked away with a silent nod, knowing he had done his bit. Sheila was gone for the time being, but they were all expecting her to return. Her shadow would always be present, a reminder of the fragility of trust and the cost of secrecy. Ridge stood alone one evening, looking at the metropolitan skyline once more. The weight was lighter but not gone. He'd lost something during the encounter, either his innocence or the idea of invincibility. But he had also gained something. A family who, despite everything, refused to let him down. Ridge felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in months as he faced an uncertain future. They'd survived Sheila and his terrible secret. Perhaps they could survive anything.